Countrywide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lamp.
Anthea Yule, the new incoming president of Hawke's Bay Federated Farmers. Anthea, g'day. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate you coming on Countrywide Connect today.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely to have you on the line, Anthea. And how's the mighty Hawke's Bay today?
A little bit cold, overcast, not too bad. We're shearing here, so hopefully the next lot of sheep will dry out.
Now, I want to talk to you about your new role at Federated Farmers, but also the man, Jim Galloway, who you've taken over from. Jim's a great man. I've had the privilege of going to his house and did a show from there a couple of years ago. He'd been in the role for quite some time, and good to see him taking a break.
Yeah, he's done a great job, and he's kept Hawke's Bay front and centre. Very approachable, and he's going to be a hard act to follow. But the good news is for us, he's stayed on the exec. So,
yeah, well, that's really good. I know Jim is a very good man, and always enjoy catching up with him. And good to see the succession coming through. And I guess that's what this is about. You're a sheep and beef farmer in the Hawke's Bay. You said what are you shearing at the moment? Did you say
sharing some ewes and the heavier lambs?
So you're farming in your own right. This is your property. You're running the whole thing.
Yes, I was for years, but the family, we did succession, completed at the very end of last year. So I'm sort of doing what I'm told a bit, but not quite.
Okay.
but have been farming in my own right for a long time.
I'm sure there's a bit of bittersweet about that. Is there? It's always a bit tough to move on, but always a bit of pleasure to see the next generation come through.
No, I actually think, I'm actually enjoying it. I mean, we talk about succession, and a lot of people just talk about succession in the passing the farm on, but it's not just that. It's the business. It's a lot of things. But your kids have to be able to step up. So succession's also about what they've done with their lives and how they've matured into adults. It's a lot of things that have to line up to make it work.
You've become the first female Hawke's Bay Federated Farmers President, and we're seeing a bit of a transition around Federated Farmers at the moment. I think you could be the third or the fourth female president stepping. I know it's not groundbreaking, but there certainly seems to be a lot more women stepping up into these leadership roles. Is it just a coincidence?
No, I think I feel very humbled by it. I mean, there's been females involved in farming for generations, and it's doing the hard stuff down every road, and that's still the case. So I think it's great, to see more women involved at that level.
Yeah, it is. And certainly we're noticing it. And I think it's fantastic for Federated Farmers to have more women presidents and obviously women on the board. And yes, we saw Katie Milne as being the first female national president of Federated Farmers. So that is great. Hawke's Bay itself, going through a little bit of a sheep and beef is fantastic, but horticulture, obviously, and the growers are having a few issues at the moment. Is that something you're going to focus on with your role as president for Federated Farmers in the Hawke's Bay?
I'm going to have to try and be over a lot of things, but the grape guys are having a terrible time. I understand there's about 20% of vineyards on the market at present in Hawke's Bay. And there's a lot of things happening at once for Hawke's Bay. We've got the amalgamation, or not, well, that's probably not the right word for it, but the reorganisation, the water issue. We've got 2 storage dams, and how all that feeds into the horticulture as well. But sheep and beef having a great time, and the cattle. The dairy farmers are doing well. Long time overdue for sheep and beef. It's great.
It certainly is. We were at the Out the Gate conference last week with all with beef and lamb, and the smiles on the faces of the sheep and beef farmers was something which we haven't seen for quite some time, and it's fantastic for that, for your sector to be doing that. We're also seeing the problem with the vegetable growers, right, McCain's in your area, and there's quite a bit of work being done by that. We talked to one of your mayors recently in the Hawke's Bay, Central Hawke's Bay, about trying to buy a little bit of time to see if you can get that plant held open or held until to try and get something done. Is there any progress being made on that?
I'm not sure yet, but it has been a huge kick for the Bay, really. It's the growers, it's the workers, it's the contractors, but I think they've got another 6 weeks or 8 weeks to try and get an extension to try and come up with a plan, which would be great if they can, because I think there's about 9,000 hectares affected, which that's a lot of land that these people are going to need to do something with come spring.
And it's not as if they're going to put it into grapes by the sound of it at the moment.
No, I mean, I've been here 39 years now, and when I was first here, it takes me about half an hour to get to town, and it was sheep all the way right into the Hastings. So I drive along a terrace, and that all went into grapes. And this land use change, highest and best use, all the way to town, we've got grapes right along the river, and it's a bit of a disaster at the moment. A lot of irony, isn't it, that they might end up having sheep on some of them again.
It is, or maybe solar farms. Seems to be. I saw the first one on the West Coast the other day. I mean, we are talking about land use change here, aren't we, really? All sorts of things.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So as president now, obviously you make a decision to come in and take over that role. What would be your focus in your role, in your time as president of Hawke's Bay Federated Farmers?
Which I hope I can speak for the people of Hawke's Bay and the farming people of Hawke's Bay, all people in Hawke's Bay. But it's going to take me a while to sort of, get a bit. I mean, this is the first time I've done something like this, for example, so it's going to take me a little while to learn, but hopefully just being a good representative of the people of Hawke's Bay and the wishes that they have and what needs to be done. We have to shake the tree every now and then to keep things, our politicians on track.
You alluded to the local government reform, and there's been a lot of talk about local government reform in Hawke's Bay, leading even in the last decade or two. There's been, if I remember rightly, there was actually a couple of referendums on it, right? Have you got any thoughts on what it should look like, or any thoughts on what you would like to see?
Well, I think if I'm honest, the issue we've always had in Hawke's Bay is that we've got 2 big cities, and that's the underlying problem that we have in there. It's great, but it has also caused tensions in the past, and it's how we overcome that. I mean, imagine if the Waikato had 2 Hamiltons, or, Dunedin, Otago had 2 Dunedins. That's our problem, but it's how we can work it out going forward. There is going to be an amalgamation of sorts, but the worry is perhaps what happens on the northern boundary, what happens to Wairoa, and what happens to central districts, central Hawke's Bay.
God help us, 2 Hamiltons. Anyway.
But you know what I mean? That's that patch protection that we have in Hawke's Bay, and it's always been an issue. But, it's a mighty province if we put everything together with the port and Napier and
It is a mighty province, and you've alluded to a few issues, with the grapes at the moment, and we've talked about the horticulture, but it is a mighty province. But it would be even mightier if you could get some water, right? The new dam, it was called the Ruataniwha Dam. It's got a new name now. I can't quite remember. Are you confident that that's going to get through as it needs to?
Well, the issue is we've got 2 dams on the go. There's the one not far from where I'm sitting, up the Narrarora River. That's one dam, and the other one's in central Hawke's Bay, which is the old Ruataniwha Dam. So there's 2 on the table at the moment, and how that's going to unfold. One's a lot bigger than the other. The central Hawke's Bay one is significantly bigger, but that's also something that's going to be a little bit contentious over the next few months.
Yeah, well, maybe if it occurs as advertised, the looming El Nino might show the need for extra water storage in your region, because effectively that is potentially quite a big issue looming on the horizon, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be great if we could have both of them, to be honest. I mean, all this water, we need it. But it's just a shame that at the moment you've got this problem with horticulture and the grapes. I mean, they're very efficient. The grapes, that's, they don't need much water, so they're very efficient. But it's not good timing to be trying to get these dams over the line, or water storage as they're calling them.
No, it's certainly not good timing for that. Anyway, look, Anthea, thank you so much for joining us on Countrywide Connect. Really, really appreciate it. Good luck in your time as president of Hawke's Bay Federated Farmers. I know you'll have a great job, and thank you very much to Jim for passing the baton on to you.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, fantastic. Anthea Yule there.
Countrywide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lapp.